Hopefully you can see my screen. Okay, great. I'm just going to pull up my screen. Having technical issues today. Can everybody see my deck okay? For some reason, my screen is acting up. What's going on here? Of course, Murphy's Law.
Maybe stop share and reshare.
Oh no, there we go.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for attending. I know that we've got folks here from both Alberta and Ontario, and I'm based in the Toronto, the GTA, and I know that some of our other team members are based in the Calgary area. So wherever you're from, welcome. I'm hoping that we can provide some value with to you today, because we've really reached a crescendo in the whole life cycle of the job market. And so as HR folks, you probably realize that your primary role is to successfully manage the life cycle of employment in the workplace, right? And what we often forget is that, you know, the lifestyle, everything cycles, right? What's old is new again, what's new is old again. And oftentimes, so we start a job, and then we do a job, and then we end a job, and then the whole cycle repeats itself. What's happening right now is that cycle is becoming shorter, and and it's being very much disrupted. So when we look at what is happening right now, we've got uh, this real, I guess, AI interceptions, shall we say, that has really muddied the waters for many people, not just employers, but also job seekers. And we've worked. I don't know if any of you are really familiar with higher landing, but we work with professionals throughout Canada and the United States. And probably over the past, I started the company 11 years ago. And over that time, we've probably put through well over 10,000 professionals through our program. Our sweet spot is really dealing with the professional market. And my background, I've run professional search firms, been in the professional search services industry for most of my career. And what I've seen now is really unprecedented. And you know, we can really thank AI, you know, for a lot of that. And I think a lot of us are used to managing these disruptions in the employment cycle, but probably not to the. We've never, probably any of us have really seen the magnitude of changes that are happening right now, and really thanks to AI. So what we're going to be covering today is, you know, I'd like to talk about the AI reality that HR simply cannot afford to ignore anymore. And I'm not suggesting that any of you are by any stretch, but this is a real gut punch that is happening to every piece of the life cycle in that employment life cycle, as I call it. And specifically, where we see the majority of our clients is in that life cycle of post employment to reemployment. And one of the things that we really are careful and diligent about, of tracking, is something called our landing rates, and that's time that people take to land a successful, meaningful job. And our objective is not just to help people to get any kind of a job, not survival jobs. It's to help them figure out what they want to do when they grow up, and then help them land that as quickly as possible at a salary that they deserve. And over the course of years, and we've been having to track these stats for many of our contracts, we've successfully achieved a 70% success rate in getting our professionals back to meaningful employment within 3 months of completing the program. And that has been through thick and through thin, through good economies and bad, through pandemics, and now trade wars and whatever the heck else is going on, AI now in the job market. And so we've had to continuously adapt, and we've never had to adapt and change to the degree that we have just in the past year, even 6 months. As a matter of fact, we are constantly updating our curriculum every single month just to keep on top and make sure that our clients don't get left behind, and keep current about the latest developments in technology, in AI, and what it's doing to the job market. Never mind what it's doing to our employer clients as well. So I'm just going to touch a little bit upon which roles are being hit or what. And this is more from our observation, and maybe it's different in your world. But I'm going to talk about which roles are being hit and how fast, what your departing employees are actually walking into, and then what good transition support looks like right now, and then we'll offer some time for some Q&A. And if anybody has any questions as we go, feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, we can save that to the end. And so I'll invite some of my team as well to share some information with you, because we do have some interesting demos, and some things that we'll share with attendees today at the end of today's webinar. So it's sort of like getting hit by a bus when you think of what's really happening in the job market right now. And when you think about it, the rules have it's like they've changed overnight. And AI is no longer a future threat to the workforce. It is the current reality. And I know that there's a lot of talk about, well, is it as serious as it appears? Do we believe what we're told in the media? Anecdotally, we're also, seeing our own examples of what's happening on the ground. And the employees your organization is releasing today are walking into a completely different job market. It's almost like a completely different world, different planet that did not exist 2 years ago. And most of them don't realize it yet. So what we've seen is that many of the people coming to us have experienced whether call it traditional outplacement or a job search service. They've tried a resume writer, a career coach. They might have started applying online. There's a lot of new tools that look funky and are very enticing, such as online automatic auto-generated application tools where a job candidate can apply to hundreds of jobs, or AI will help them to apply for hundreds of jobs a day if they want, in some cases, and do an automated personalized resume for them. And some of them are paying quite a lot of money for these services. Now, ChatGPT just this week launched something to let people think that, okay, well, now all of it is free. But first of all, it's not working. We're seeing the aftermath of that in the professional job market, especially. And secondly, I think what's happening is it's feeding them with a lot of false hope that a lot of people are just looking for a quick fix, and in anything. And we can thank this. Everybody's looking. We're all looking for a quick dopamine rush with technology. And what nobody is really telling these people once they re-enter the workforce as a job seeker, how much has radically changed. And and these quick fix tools all look very enticing, but they're actually contributing to worsening the problem, not alleviating it. And the aftermath of some of these tools as well is actually causing employers to now receive, we're doing this, we're seeing this as well, if you would have received 100 or even say 500 applications for a role now that you might have posted online, well, triple that or quadruple that now. And so, are you you've got to be relying on ATS systems and all kinds of things to sort through them. But are they still providing you with the ideal candidate? So what we're starting to see is a migration with employers to moving more towards what I call more traditional or more old-fashioned techniques. Some of you might be too young to know what I'm talking about, but relying more on in-person introductions and networking and things like that than they would have recently because of technology. So what we're seeing now is there's a number of white collar job seekers that are walking into a world and they're not getting interviews. They're not only are they not getting jobs, they are not getting interviews. In some cases for months. And I mean, we've even worked with clients who have come to us after receiving some sort of external support for getting them back on their feet, and they haven't gone on one meaningful interview in 8 to 10 months. And I mean, it's heartbreaking. But that combined with the fact that almost 75 to 80,000 tech jobs were eliminated in 2025 alone. And that's almost 500 jobs a day. And Anthropic's CEO just recently came out with a very bold statement. I mean, take it for what it's worth. But he believes that 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs could be automated away within the next 5 years. So according to my research, when you look at over half, some stats have gone up to 70 or 80% of jobs in 2030 that have yet to be invented. This is probably one of the most exciting times for people to have a job created for them. And if you're in hiring mode, maybe you've already seen an opportunity to hire somebody and you don't even know what to call them because it's so new. And what's driving that is something that we refer to as IPs, important pain points, are changing for employers so quickly that the pain points that they would have hired somebody for a month or 6 months ago are no longer relevant. And so they're having to look for new candidates with different skill sets, different capabilities that can help them capitalize on some of the latest tools and technology, many of which are being made so simple that you do not require a lot of technical knowledge to be able to apply. I mean, I'm a good example of that. I'm very non-technical. And here I am, I'm doing vibe coding of all things. Who would have ever thought? But, there are a number of tools that are available to ensure that people don't get left behind. And that's the reality of what's happening to many of them, is that they are inadvertently, with the best of intentions. They're surrounded with people with the best of intentions, but then they get into the real world and they're stepping into bedlam. So when we look at what's happening with AI and the job market specifically, what we found is that the functions being hit hardest are these areas. And they might even be happening in your organizations right now. Finance and accounting, HR, IT, software and software development, supply chain and operations, and marketing and communications. So on the finance and accounting side, AP, financial reporting, data processing, all that basic stuff, analysis. Up to 70% of financial data processing tasks are automatable today. And the other research that we have done, and we've produced papers on this, and it's been substantiated by other organizations. I always refer to this as my 70-30 rule. So if we look at by 2030, the average professional, highly skilled professionals, hard skills are going to be automated away. What's left is their 30%. And most people do not understand how important it is to package and take to market that 30%, because that's really the only thing that is going to differentiate them from AI and is least likely to be automated. So this is hitting that whole concept of that 70-30 rule, as I call it, is really hitting pretty much every functional area of business. On the HR side, maybe some of you have already seen this, but we've got a lot of HR generalists and different types of practitioners in our program who have been automated away, as I call it, through with workforce analytics platforms. And a lot of their routine tasks, such as you know, scheduling, screening, onboarding, admin, those are being automated at scale. And then, of course, the whole IT and software development programmers, for sure. We've got a lot of programmers in our programs throughout North America right now. It's really heartbreaking. And AI is now writing, reviewing, debugging code. It can code. We can all become coders. Who would have thought that would even have been a remote possibility 6 months ago? Even some of you might be doing this and surprising yourself quite substantially. Entry and mid-level developer roles are shrinking, and vibe coding means that non-developers can now build functional tools. So, and then when we look at supply chain and operations, things like demand forecasting, inventory management, logistics optimization. AI is handling those tasks a lot faster and cheaper than humans can. And then marketing and communications, that's kind of a no-brainer. Content creators, content creation, campaign reporting, basic copywriting, social scheduling, and the type of content that is being produced. All of that is being automated away or consolidated. And even when I look at the latest algorithms that have really shaken the LinkedIn world, it's now penalizing people for really not being authentic. And so we talk a lot to our clients about how to use AI differently today than they would have had to even 60 days ago. That's how quickly these algorithms are coming into the fore, and it's impacting their time to land. So when we look at the layoff boomerang, as I call it, what we're also seeing is, and maybe you are as well, that employers that cut too fast are already trying to hire back the people that they released, thinking that okay, well, everything is going to be automated away. They didn't have to worry. And some of the stats are saying that 55% of employers regret AI-driven layoffs. And what they realized later is that they eliminated human judgment before the technology was actually ready. 2 and 3 companies are already rehiring, and organizations that executed AI layoffs within the last year are already back in the job market trying to hire those people back. We're even seeing that with Meta and Microsoft in some cases. There's a lot of upheaval going on there. And then, of course, when you try to hire those people back, are they really as engaged or positive? Usually not so much. And then, you look at the cost for having to rehire or, severance, of course, productivity collapse and rehiring costs. They instantly eliminate any upfront savings that employers would have otherwise had. So the point in all of this is that you want to be really careful before you do start making any sort of workforce transitions. And I've got a really cool tool that I want to share with you today that might help in that. And then, of course, there's this broken pipeline where entry-level jobs are getting destroyed by AI, and then also the whole problem is exacerbated when senior people leave. There's no one with that carryover, that institutional knowledge to really step up and close that gap. So it's really adding salt to wounds, because what's really happening to the long-term productivity of these organizations. So there's a higher risk right now when two organizations, when you do decide to terminate somebody that's, let's say, mid to later on in their career. Not from a legal perspective, but more from even a business or productivity perspective as well. And then, of course, we've got the task versus job confusion element, where AI can certainly replace a task, but it cannot replace a job. And those who assumed otherwise, these are the people that lost decades of contextual knowledge and institutional memory that no chatbot is ever going to replicate. So I would just like to do a really quick demo, and then what I will do is share some of this with you at the end of today's session. But we have recently created an AI workforce readiness assessment. And this is really great for both a hiring as well as a retention tool. And it essentially evaluates how people think and apply AI, because this is something else that I don't think is really being, there's not enough attention being brought to this, because not only are people facing, all of a sudden they have to look for work a new way. They have to figure out, well, do I use AI? Do I not? If I overuse it, I'm going to be penalized by all these algorithms for these various job search platforms. Okay, so what's the happy medium? And then what tools do I use? Because if resumes are no longer working, if online jobs are no longer getting them hired, well, then what do I do? So what I would like to do is to just quickly do a quick demo with you of something, and then I will share it with you again at the end of today. So just bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so in our on our website, there is a link for assessments. I would like to share with you the AI readiness assessment that we created. We also have one for employees or for job seekers. But what this assessment does, and I think it's a new development in the world of hiring for sure, that is certainly being used in, I know, the tech world pretty extensively. Not this assessment, but in the tech world, specifically in the U.S. I know that they're looking far more critically at how people think. And so what this does is, this is an employer-led version of what we have created for job seekers, that measures how effectively someone can use AI to solve problems under realistic business time pressure. Because, historically, when you think about it, 5 people might spend a month solving a problem. Today, 1 person might be expected to recommend a solution in 3 days or less. And that speed is often impossible without being able to use AI, at least to some extent. So as I said, this is a great tool for both hiring and current, as well as assessing your current employees. And really, so the whole notion here is can someone think effectively while using AI? So I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but one of the things that I'm very passionate about in the program is teaching the whole notion of thin slicing. And this is a term that Malcolm Gladwell coined a number of years ago, but it's your ability to assimilate mass loads of information really quickly without having to, and at the same time, making really accurate recommendations from it. So the idea behind thin slicing is all of us are having to become really good thin slicers in order to just do our jobs. And so what thin slicing really is your ability to rapidly assimilate large amounts of information, identify what matters most and ignore distractions, generate sound first pass recommendations fast because people are wanting things so quickly, adapt when assumptions change, and communicate conclusions clearly. So this is something that we really are passionate about teaching our professional clients in the program, because they don't know any different. They're used to being told what to do, not necessarily how to think differently. And AI cannot determine which information matters most, which recommendations are realistic, which risks should be prioritized, and how decisions adapt to changing circumstances. And so those still remain very human responsibilities. And this assessment essentially makes those visible. So essentially what you're doing here is you're being able to evaluate not subject matter expertise, but observable workplace capabilities. And remember, this is for either new candidates or your existing employees. Their ability to solve problems, judgment, comprehension, decision making under pressure, AI utilization and prompt quality, if you're even allow AI use in your firms, critical thinking, listening, adaptability, communication, interpreting AI generated information. These are many skills that form part of that 30% that I was talking about that are least likely to get automated away. And this is the really important stuff for when you are differentiating yourself in the marketplace, when you are looking to pivot your career, which many professionals are having to do. Many of our clients are pivoting. And when I say pivoting, it could mean like a 10% pivot where they're doing the very same thing, just in a different industry, or they're moving from, say, geology into something like banking, something radically different. Either way, there's no way that they would be able to successfully achieve those things without having to go back to school, without understanding their 30% and marrying that with their 70%. So this is an opportunity to really help you focus on how the candidate approaches the problem, not whether or not they reach. It's not about getting the answer right or wrong, getting it correctly. So how it works is there's kind of 3 steps. You basically present a problem scenario and to the candidate. You observe them, so you watch them through these various steps, screen shared or in person, and then you evaluate. So you can score their thinking on the evaluation form. So this is something that we're noticing seems to be far more prevalent in the U.S. right now. I know that some Canadian employers seem to be a little bit leery about using these kind of assessments, but we are seeing more innovation happening in the hiring process just because employers are getting really picky because they can. So anyways, without getting into a lot of this, there's instructions here. But what I would like to do is just to quickly bring your attention to the sample output. So we've got a couple of examples of what the final reports look like if you do decide to do this. And you can see the kind of things that it tests. So this was one that was rated weak. The recommended next step was for hiring a candidate, proceed with caution, performance is slowed or lost accuracy under pressure. If advancing, ensure the role allows for ramp-up time and structured support, and confirm strengths through additional evidence. For an existing employee, this might require meaningful development, filling a meaningful development gap, investing in focused upskilling or reassess, or realign them to responsibilities that better fit their current strengths. So you can see the things the areas that it's assessing. Their thin slicing ability, their soft skills, as well as their ability to communicate. This is the different one that was rated more at the mid level. You can see the recommendations there, and then of course this one was rated strong. So all of these examples are on the link that we will share with you afterwards. So for this one, for example, for hiring a candidate, advance to the next stage with confidence. Focused remaining interviews on role-specific depth and team fit. The core thinking ability under pressure is also already verified. Or for an existing employee, this person is ready for greater responsibility, AI leveraged projects, or a stretch role, and the underlying capability is proven. So I don't have to tell you that, this is just another tool. It's not the end all and the be all, but we have found that it has helped some folks really make better decisions. And it's wonderful when our clients actually do this on the other side, preparing for their job, their next opportunities, because we're finding that it's a real wake up call for them. Okay, so I just wanted to finish off here, and then I'll pass you over to my team. When we look at what's happening, how people are searching, the job board, the reality is that job boards are completely flooded these days. AI tools are mass generating applications, and a single posting can attract thousands of submissions. So your departing people are competing against these bots. Secondly, the ATS screening is all AI driven now, or much of it is. And what those systems are doing is filtering out people before a human even reads a resume or sees them. And an AI optimized resume that a lot of people are relying on, and we highly advise against it. I mean, it's understanding how the degree to which you should be leveraging those tools. It might get you past the gate, but really no further. And like I was saying, these auto apply tools are everywhere. I think they're creating more harm than not. And the hidden job market has never mattered more. So when I talk about more traditional hiring practices, that's what we're finding. And we're finding that more and more of our clients are having jobs created for them on the basis of how we teach them to market themselves. And the reality is that 75% of roles are filled before they're even posted, either internally or they're never advertised. So really, job seekers are fishing in the wrong pond. That's what's happening. Okay, so this is, and I'm not going to get into this too much, but you already are aware that when you hand them a package when you are departing them, there's a tremendous emotional, physical, and financial impact. And the only thing is that it seems to be amplified now because of AI. So we're finding that the depression and the mental health aspects are even probably more pronounced now than they ever have been, which then leads to physical stress. And then, the most important thing from our view is you want to try to ensure that they land as quickly as possible and get back on their feet as quickly as possible, so that they're not living in, they're not coasting for too long. Because if they are coasting, that's the first trap that a lot of people fall into. It'll just going to take a few weeks. Well, it might have only taken a few weeks, a year or 2 or 3 years ago, but now, I was just talking to Erin, my COO, about this. The average technical professional is unemployed in Canada 5 to 6 months. And so what we try to do is we try to accelerate that. It's even more serious the more technical and the more skilled that someone is. So what happens is, so they think that it's just going to take a few weeks or a short time, and then when weeks turn into months, and then months might even turn into years in some cases, God forbid, then they start panic applying. And of course, that's playing that online job lottery, which we know for a fact does not work. We suggest that people really be careful about using it too much. There is a way to use it, but less than 2% of online applications ever even lead to an interview. So that, it might feel productive to do those follow those mass applying methods, but it rarely is. And it actually creates new problems for them. And then, of course, when you look at the organizational impact, as well as anyone, that you might not have control over what they do when they're departed, but you have control over the decision that you make in terms of how that departure is handled. And Glassdoor, LinkedIn reviews that recruiters and candidates see, I mean, that's robust. And we see this all the time, and it's unfortunate, but negative word of mouth travels probably faster than positive. And then it does get back to your remaining employees. So that how that whole process is handled, I think, is really delicate, even more so today than it was before. And then we get into increased wrongful dismissal claims, damaged employer brand, alumni who you thought would be big fans and ambassadors now end up becoming detractors. So offboarding them can really, how you offboard them can impact your next chapters. Okay, so what I would like to do is to introduce you to one of my colleagues who is a real expert in this field, even more so probably than myself, which is Ryan Mears. So, Ryan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Good afternoon or morning, I guess, for a few of us. As Jackie said, my name is Ryan. I get the fortunate of task of talking to a lot of departed employees as they're trying to navigate all of what Jackie has just discussed. And so part of my job here with Higher Landing is I do get to be part of some of those departures, but I also get to deal with them as they're going through a lot of this emotional and financial strain. And what I've noticed, sometimes employers don't fully grasp exactly what happens after they leave. We get to that point. So I'm going to go through a couple of what does a good transition look like, and then some areas of what you should be looking for in your transition process to be making sure that they are getting what they need out of this, but also what are you getting what you need out of this from a company standpoint. So I'm just going to share my screen real quickly here. Okay, so just talking about what does a good support look like. Now that we're moving on. So what does a good support look like? And we are going to give you a departure guide, which is something we hand out to the companies that we do work with, just as kind of a checklist. We do have some companies that this is not what you necessarily even their HR departments handle on a day-to-day basis. Bigger and better things to have to handle day in, day out. What we try to be able to do is give you a guide to be able to walk through how do I prepare, how do I perform, and then how do I react after the departure. So I won't go one by one through all of these, but there are some key points that we want to have beforehand. So before we have a departure, I would recommend utilizing the tool that Jackie had mentioned before, just to make sure, are we laying off the right people here? There are a couple of case studies that we've been looking through where companies like Duolingo were thought, hey, let's reduce our headcount, we'll save a bunch of money. And then it really did affect their brand afterwards, the quality of their product. And then at the end of the day, they ended up having to actually hire back a good chunk of their personnel. Okay. The one thing that we do recommend that if you do have legal counsel is to check with your legal counsel. Are we doing this the right way? Do we have all of our ducks in a row? Make sure that you do adequate planning. Make sure you plan the timing, usually first thing earlier in the week, making sure that you have all your documents prepared. Part of that documentation I would recommend is having next steps available for them. So if you are using a transition services company, make sure that they know who to contact if they are not present that day. If you can contact that company to make sure that they are aware. If you do need to have them on the transition, that's really important. Make sure that you plan any of your messaging. This is the one thing where I think a lot of companies fall flat on their face is, okay, let's deal with this departing employee, but we'll kind of do a case by case scenario of how to deal with the remaining employees. Have a plan in place of what you're going to be able to tell them. During the session, make sure that you have at least two people present. If you can't have two people that are working for your company, that is where a transition services company can be there to be able to assist. Don't beat around the bush, get right to it, and make sure that they are aware of what is coming next. That they have the right to legal counsel, that they have an outplacement company that is there to help them with this process. And then afterwards, make sure that once they've exited the building, make sure that you do communicate to anyone that is now there was a direct report to this individual, but also who's going to be taking some of the workload. This is quite often people fall flat on their face because all of a sudden, oh, so-and-so is gone. Now I'm having to deal with all of this. Making sure that you follow through on any of your deliveries to them, obviously. And part of that is making sure that they get any of their personal material from their offices, anything that is on site, over to them. And make sure that your outplacement services company are actually contacting them within 24 hours. And we actually really recommend that that's done even sooner than that, because a lot of emotions come through. They go through a lot of emotions through the first few hours after the termination. So again, we'll give you a little bit more of a detailed list as we're going through. Where we really want to spend some time on is what used to work versus what is actually working now. And what used to work, what companies used to do is really focus on the emotional. I'm really sorry that you're going through this. How can I help you? Um, we'll work on your resume. We'll give you somebody to get your LinkedIn all polished up. Uh, hey, you know what you should do is really move on quickly so that way you can start applying online. Just kind of doing the old school methodology, kind of really generic feedback, not giving some understanding of what's changed. So they're not really understanding, hey, there's something that has changed in the marketplace or even on how you're approaching getting back to work. So what we're trying to focus on now is how can we do some things differently? And I do see a lot of people that have had some services out there and they'll say, yeah, I had somebody work on, I paid somebody $2,000 to help spiff up my resume. And then we'll take a look at the resume and just go, that's not going to fly. That's not going to get through an ATS system. You're not going to get back to work quick enough. And so what you really want to make sure that whatever you're using for a transition services company is, and what services that they are using afterwards, that they're first of all trying to figure out what's blocking them. Why wasn't it working before? Where can they move on quickly? What are some areas that they need to improve upon? We want to focus them on not just getting back to work, because sometimes they'll just panic and try to get the first job that's out there, and they'll still be upset, and they'll still be dragging the company's name through the mud. We want them to truly move on and start finding that role that really does fit them all. Sometimes layoffs are inevitable. We want them to find those roles that maybe it's a better fit for them somewhere else. We want them to understand the algorithms. LinkedIn, I don't know if many of you understand, LinkedIn just changed a lot of their algorithms in the last year. And so what used to work with LinkedIn doesn't work anymore. It actually can be a detractor for them. We want to help them spend more of their time learning how to network and market themselves out there versus just mass applying. And one of the things that you want to make sure that they are not feeling like they're being left alone. A lot of departed employees, when they leave, they lose what they call their work family. Those connections, those people, they don't see them day in, day out. If they don't have a community for them to go to, guess who they go and start talking to? The remaining employees that are still there. And then that tends to draw down morale, it tends to draw down production, and it ends up kind of dragging the whole company through the mud all over again. What you want them to do is move on. And one thing you have to make sure is that, do they have a community to go to? Is it like-minded individuals that are also looking for work? How can they be supported out there in the real world? Because if not, that can create adverse effects. And then they want to make sure that they understand how to strategically use AI. Are they using it in an effective way, or are they just saying, hey, here's my resume, here's a job description, let's make it match? That's not an effective way to use AI. There's so many more useful tools and ways to use those tools as they move along. So this is the main concept of what your departed employees are facing and what they need in order for them to move on quickly. So that way it becomes less of a litigious and logistics nightmare for the organization. So that's a little quick rundown. As mentioned in some of the chat, we are going to be able to provide a little bit more information here that we'll send post meeting today. With this, I want to hand this over to Erin, who is our COO, and she'll be able to give you some idea of some tools that some of the candidates can use out there.
Awesome. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm going to share my screen. I want to share my sound too, because some of the stuff I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you some of the cool tools that you should be ensuring that your clients, your departed employees have access to. So tools that are actually more meaningful. So yes, we teach a lot of AI in our program, and some people are very basic and they need to just even understand basic how to do proper prompting to the AI. I find a lot of people are using it just to generate resumes, which is what Jackie was speaking about before, and cover letters. And that's really what they're using it for. They might have been using other AI tools that allow for mass applying and things like that, but they're not being very strategic with it. And what we encourage is something we call IP search. So IP search is different than job search. Job search is all about, I need a job. I need to get back to work. I'm going to make this about me, 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 me. And it's not even on purpose that they do that. They're just in that mindset. The idea of IPs is not intellectual property, which is what you may have heard of the term. In the higher learning world, it's about understanding what's really important to someone and what are their current key pain points. So what we teach them is how to figure out important pain points of potential employers, or what's important to them and their pain points. And this helps them when they're networking. It also helps them in their interviews. It helps them prepare, helps them in all kinds of areas. And a couple of cool tools that we've been sharing with our clients coming through the program. And, you know, you can use it even as an HR professional if you want to do some deep digging. So they are really cool tools. I've introduced them to lots of people in my world, and they're like, well, I didn't know that those existed. And I'm going to show you Deep Research and Google Notebook LM. We did a whole webinar about a month ago. I'm doing part 2 of the webinar next week on new cool AI tools. So what these tools allow you to do is do deep dives. Now, I would say what Google Notebook allows you to do, the idea with that platform is that you control the input that it sources the information from. So you can go in and say, only use these websites to do your research and then compile information for me. But it'll compile a lot of different things, including reports for you, podcasts if you want to listen to like podcasts on the company, video explainers, all kinds of things, so that you can get a deeper dive on a company in a much more impactful way that we in today's society are comfortable using, right? So a lot of us listen to podcasts. A lot of us want bite-sized pieces of information. This tool allows you to do that. The idea behind Notebook was that because the user is controlling the input, you're avoiding hallucination more, because when you allow AI to just go source the entire internet, it can hallucinate, it can make mistakes. But this allows you to control the input so that you know where the information's coming from, so that you know the level of reliability on output. So I'm going to show you that. And then I'm also going to show you ChatGPT's Deep Research. There's an equivalent tool with Perplexity, a Deep Research. I find Claude just naturally does deeper research. They don't have a tool specifically called that, but they do have some deeper research. So I use mostly, I use Google Gemini. I use a lot of Claude. I use ChatGPT, my old faithful. Sometimes I use Perplexity. Sometimes, because we work in a Microsoft environment, I'm using Copilot for some little things too. So we're encouraging our clients to use multiple AI platforms and not just stick to one. You get different answers from different platforms, and each platform has different areas that they're stronger in. And we teach them some of that, like which areas are stronger for different platforms. But also because a lot of employers are, especially we've noticed in the US, we haven't seen this as much with Canadian employers yet, but they're starting to question, even in interviews, like what LLMs, large language models, are you using, which is different types of AI for communication collaboration. And if you're just saying ChatGPT, that's viewed as a negative. So it's not that ChatGPT is bad. It's actually great. It's more of your Swiss Army knife, and it does a little bit of everything well, but it's not great for certain things. So what I did is I took a company, it's a Calgary-based company that's had some exponential growth. Can everyone see my screen here on Avenue Living? So I did Avenue Living. It's only been around, I think, since 2004, but it's grown from, initially it had like 24 unit building, and now it has like billions in revenue, and it's just grown enormously in over 20 years, and it's across North America. So I'm going to show you the deep research tool first. So what I did is I went into, to access deep research in ChatGPT, you have to have a paid account. So you can, there is the option to do deep research under more, and you can do that. So I went into more and deep research, and I typed in a prompt. It's not a very long prompt. I'm pretending I'm like all of us today, an HR professional, and I want to reach out to them about potential opportunities to work for them. And I want to understand their business priorities, etc. This took 35 minutes to run this research. So it takes longer, but it goes deeper and it sources everything. So it's very accurate. I'm not going to read the whole report to you. We don't have time. That would be kind of boring, but I wanted you to know that this kind of stuff is there. So we're teaching this to our clients, and it's something that outplacement providers should be providing cutting edge new tools to their clients on an ongoing basis, or anyone providing career coaching, so that people have what they need today to get back to work. So it does give you a lot of information. I'm going to skip down to some of the stuff that's useful that I think for, if I'm an HR professional, I would read this whole thing, but it talks as we go down lower about, there's interesting, it says it's got certain employee satisfaction scores. So in the talent strategy, and it has over 50% women on the executive team. It's got a women of influence mentorship program. These are all interesting facts to know if you're going to approach the company, right? Especially if you're a woman, I guess. But also, even as any HR person, understanding that they have an 86% employee satisfaction score. Things like that are valuable. I would maybe dig in and ask them how are they measuring that? What tools are they using, etc. That could be a question that you ask. You can see timeline of events. Usually they give you 1 or 2 years worth of events. They'll talk about some risks in there. So it's good information for you to read through. And then it'll give you some of the IPs of the company, the important pain points, problems keeping leadership up at night. Can the company keep service quality and culture consistent when they're scaling as fast as they are? Can they go public, and what's that going to look like? Can the platform keep growing as rental markets soften because they were tighter a few years ago? Reputational and labor friction before it impairs hiring. So that's a strong one from an HR perspective. So then it goes through and it actually gives you contacts. So these are some of the main contacts at Avenue Living, what they do, what their roles are. After they give you these contacts, below that, they actually tell you, as a person who is in HR who wants to reach out to this company, these are the targets that they would recommend that you reach out to. If you want to get into residential operations HR, then reach out to this person or these people. If you want to do total rewards, it's this person. So they're giving you contacts and who to reach out to. And then they're giving you recommendations on how to reach out to them. So these are some things you could do to reach out to them. And these are some angles that you could take. So they want to build management consistency, but not slow their growth. They want to support a public market readiness from the people side. So if that's your area, if you've helped companies that have gone public in maintaining their HR morale and everything that is involved in that, you can do that. Modernizing their total rewards and retention, tie HR tech and analytics. And then it gives you questions you could even ask hiring managers. So it's really very deep and thorough. And this is the kind of information we arm our clients with that you could arm yourself with if you're having conversations with people too. The other tool is just, it's cool.
You teach people too, Erin, how to use the right prompts, right? To get the right information.
Yeah. Prompting is a huge part of it. To get the right information, you have to prompt properly. So this tool is called Notebook LM. I always add an extra L. Notebook LM. It is a tool that is a Google product. And I don't have a paid Google account, so I did all this for free. Now I do have a paid chat account, but not Google. With this, I was able to give it some websites. So I gave it these websites, and it went in and it created a summary of the company for me. But it also will do different things from video and audio perspective. So, for example, if I want to, I could do a concept explainer. This one's kind of cool here. I'll play a little bit of this for you.
$1 billion in real estate.
Right, just an absolutely massive scale.
Yeah, and you've just been celebrated as a top employer by industry publications, right? Your investor pitch decks are showing this massive double-digit revenue growth.
And you've got government backing, too. I mean, they recently secured a $120 million commitment from the government for sustainable retrofits.
Exactly. So on paper, you are just this absolute masterclass in corporate efficiency.
Right.
So I'm not going to listen to the whole thing, but it created a podcast just from me loading these websites in. That's all I did. And then I hit a button saying, I want a podcast type conversation. And it generated that for me. That can be really informative if you're on your way to meet with the company, or you're, all those places that we listen to podcasts, you're on your treadmill, whatever, you could listen to this and absorb this type of information. And it does take a little bit of time. Say all in all, to generate all this took me maybe 20 minutes. So not that much time. There's also a video that...
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're setting the stage for a really fascinating, objective deep dive into how one specific real estate firm is quietly building an absolute mammoth of a portfolio right under our noses. We're going to be contrasting their highly polished institutional growth strategy with the raw, unfiltered reality experienced by the actual people living in their buildings. It's an incredibly revealing look at what happens when high-level corporate ambition meets the everyday fundamental necessity of housing.
Okay, so you can see the kind of cool stuff that you can generate. I also did generate some other reports and stuff on that. So I wanted a specific report around a topic. I can't remember which one it was. I thought I did one. I think it's this one. No, that's the explainer. Anyway,
Welcome to The Explainer.
An audio overview. You can create a slide deck. You can create mind maps, flashcards, reports. And if, for example, let me just show you one, like in reports, I could say, I want to create my own type of format. I just want a briefing, study guide. A lot of people in university will load information in here and use this tool to study. Maybe a due diligence or a risk mitigation or concept or an evaluation. But you could even, like if this was your company, you could generate a blog post out of it if you wanted to. So there's
it's going to suggest
possibilities
too that that would be a really cool thing is for you to use this tool on your own organizations to see what comes up.
Yeah, we did it on Higher Landing, and we got some amazingly cool tools. And how it took all of our information just from our website, our YouTube channel, and our Facebook and Instagram. It was amazing what it was able to take just from those platforms and the content it could generate. So those are the types
that was awesome, Erin. I really
tools. Yeah.
Really, so Erin is our resident subject matter expert in this area. She knows way more than the rest of us, it seems, and oddly enough, she's doing a webinar. Is it next Friday, Erin?
I think I want to say it's Wednesday even. It's Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Yeah.
If any of you are interested, we can send out a link. But very, very practical tools, not just for job seekers, but also for employees, regardless of their level. Does anyone have any questions, any comments, anything that they would like to share from what they're seeing on the ground? For sure. And like I said, we will share these links with you after today. And if anyone does have any questions, please feel to reach out. We'll send some contact information. We've got so much more information on any one of these areas. So if there's one particular area of focus that you're more interested in than another, just let us know. And we hold information sessions twice a month as well. So those are public. If you want to attend those too, we're happy to invite you.
We also have an upcoming, our next webinar is going to be Thursday, July 18th. This is for HR professionals, and it's going to be on the topic of, should we depart or redeploy people? Rethinking our workforce decisions in the AI age. So getting deeper into that thought process. And our plan is to continue to offer these type of webinars because we're staying very current with what's happening on the ground, and we want to pass that information along to HR as well.
Yeah, just to make, yeah, and this one here I think is going to be really good to ensure that, you don't have redeployment, what is it, remorse, and that you feel confident in your decisions, that you've at least done your own due diligence to make sure that if you do have to reduce your workforce, that you're making the best decisions possible.
Right. And I would say if you are looking at doing, if you want to understand more about outplacement or departures in general, and you just want more info, Brian is our resident expert on that. So you can reach out to Brian at higherlanding.com. And he's happy to chat with you about that, or you can call in and just ask for Ryan's extension. He's happy to talk to you about that as our resident expert on the topic. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be sending we'll send a follow-up with a couple of pieces of information, a sample of our departure guide, so you can see the type of information we're providing upon departure, the tool that Jackie used as well as our slide deck. So those are the tools that we will be providing to you afterwards. So any last questions, or anyone want to say anything before we call it a day on this lovely Friday? No?
Thank you very much for attending. It's been really been wonderful. I appreciate you making time, especially on a Friday afternoon. I don't know what it's like in your area, but where I am in the GTA, it is on fire right now with beautiful weather, which is very, very, very rare. So any of you in this area, please take advantage of it.
So are you calling it a day now, Jackie, and you're going outside?
I wish I could.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your week and weekend.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.